Right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Rip Roaring Reds. We have just come off the back of a 1-1 draw at Craven Cottage against Fulham. I'm Grev, joined by Jace. It's been a while. We've had a bit of a hiatus. We thought we'd come back with a bang to a victory that would take us 4 points behind the league leaders, Liverpool. It hasn't worked out that way. So the vibe is flat. We're probably pissed off. But Jace, how are you feeling after that result?
Arsenal was I'm pissed off, but I'm also very happy because of other sporting events that went on today. So the vibe for me is not too bad. It just was just as bad. I was trying not to swear, but that's how the kind of game it was. It was just such a flat game. It was so boring. It was so dull. It was mind-numbingly boring at times and frustrating. We'll get into it, but yeah. How I'm feeling about that result, let's just drop points. Fulham, we always drop points at Fulham as well. It's Fulham again.
As well, don't we? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's Fulham
again. It is. Well, if you're joining us again after a hiatus, thank you very much for coming back. Please do give the channel subscribers, this is your first time here, please do give the video a like. We will try once again to come back after most Arsenal games, as we're going to review this game where both me and Jace have turned up wearing black to commemorate the funeral of Arsenal's title hopes and dreams. So let's get into maybe, who knows, right? We're going to get into a tradition that we have. It is Christmas time, of course, so it's all about traditions. We're going to bring back our tradition of the Rip Roaring Review. I'm going to hand over the baton straight to you, Jace. Your vibe was, well, Formula One was good. Arsenal was bad. I'm assuming you're going to keep on the bad track for the Arsenal. Tell me what your review is off the back of that game.
It's a very basic bitch kind of review. Do better, Arsenal. That's my review. Do better. We are such a flip-flop team this season, and we are lackluster when we need to be at our prime. And this is a game, like, we knew Fulham was going to be a hard game. Like, we went to Craven Cottage and got absolutely done over last year. And so I was nervous going in, but I was like, the form that we've shown, it's like we've already been through our bad patch. Our bad patch has kind of passed us. You know, the last few games, the United game, we were superb in the second half. West Ham, we smashed. Sporting, we smashed. We were great at home to Forest. And I was just expecting us to continue to kick on. The defense, you know, yes, we have a lot of injuries, but that doesn't excuse the end product. And it was the lack of end product today, just cut across the board from the people that you expect to turn up and contribute. There's a lack of end product, and yeah, we just need to do better. And we aren't going to win. We're nowhere near winning the league with these kind of inconsistencies, because we can have these great periods of 3 or 4 games where we play amazing, but then we just suddenly lose that momentum. And we aren't consistent this year, and the points tally shows it. You know, so it's feeling very unlike a league title season right now.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with the sentiment. I'd agree with the view. We are probably not at it. I was going in a similar fashion. I think in previous years you would have seen a lot of different variances of luck. Some very different small margins across the season that would either win you the league or wouldn't win you the league. It kind of feels like we're on the wrong side of that luck at the moment. There was periods last season where we were just riding luck all the time. And if you look back across decisions that have gone against us in the early parts of the season, you know, the red cards, we have had a lot of injuries, like you say. That back four today, whether you want to call it or not, is ramshackle. It's a ramshackle back four. We're playing Timber in his non-dominant kind of position. We're playing Kirill left centre-back. We're playing Thomas Partey at right-back. There's only one player in there that's playing really who should be playing where they should be playing. And it didn't work out. And I'm not to say that our defence was the reason why we lost this game, because far from it. And we're going to get into that. But I would say I looked at that lineup. I looked at the weather as well, because I think although you can't necessarily see it, when we're playing away from home and it's wet and windy, it is those type of games that we've commonly not fared too well in. I don't know whether or not there's any. Well, I wouldn't be, but I'm not being paid 250 grand a week to play. Anybody that wants to pay me that sort of money to play in the wind and rain, they feel free to give it to me. I'll be kind of up for it. But you know what I mean? Like, you're right. We don't feel those type of games in away grounds. We just don't feel that up for it. And like I say, those small margins, that piece of luck is just not with us. And I agree with you that we feel far from a title winning side at the moment, which is just hilarious to think that, you know, we've waited 3 years now for a Man City capitulation, and it's happened at a time when we're doing basically the same, and you're letting Liverpool run away with a league title at the moment.
Yeah. Let's move on into the game. I need to get out of this
this rut.
This rut.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Right. I put our first segment as a defensive disaster class. And I meant that in a quite different way. I just said a second ago that really the defense didn't have much to do today. And my issue with it is that the bits that they did have to do, we failed at doing. You know, we didn't show ourselves in a lot of glory across this game. And there's only one defender, I think, there that can hold their head up relatively high because he was the goal scorer. What do you think of our defense today? Do you think the defense is the reason why we lost this game?
Yes. Well, we didn't. Did we lose the game? Well, we drew. Well, it feels like a loss.
We drew, but it feels like a loss.
Kivior's lack of games showed in, you know, he was at fault for the goal. He got absolutely spun by Jimenez. His that quick turns they were running, and he kind of wrong-footed him. He kind of went one way and used that weight on his right to push away and go then left and cut underneath inside Kivior. Kivior just did not read that. He was absolutely done. As he that point he'd lost him, and I don't know if Raya could have done more for the goal. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you can stop that. It's a great finish. But it was, for me, it was just Kivior's lack of awareness, the ability to be basically caught wrong-footed, and yeah, that was it. And I don't feel like Gabriel. That's happening to Gabriel. Gabriel is maybe more touch tight. He's more aggressive. I just don't see that happening if Gabriel's playing in your left centre back role. And I just felt that was an immaturity, a lack of experience playing a centre back in the Premier League, because most often he's played left back. And it just shows we can have all the best defenders in the world, and generally we've got some amazing defenders. When you look at the injury list of defenders, we are down to the bare bones. Kivior is not even our first choice, second choice centre back, right? Like, if Gabriel wasn't playing, you'd probably put White in, or you'd put Tomiyasu in, but both of them are injured. You'd put Calafiori in because he can play left-sided centre back. He's injured.
You could also put Timber in, I think, in right or alongside that you can
the
injuries too, right?
So I mean, we're missing Zinchenko, Gabriel, Calafiori, White, Tomiyasu. 5 starting defenders. We are down to the bare bones. So I'm trying not to be critical on Kivior, but I don't think he's probably good enough. He's a squad rotation player. He's not good enough to be a starter. I wouldn't be surprised if we did sell him in the summer, because we thought he was going to go this year, to be honest, back to Italy. And I don't want to be overly critical, but he didn't have the nous that game. I said lack of match fitness, know-how, and just got absolutely done. And that was the major attack from Fulham. I think there was one in the second half where Ryan made a good save in the near post from Pereira, but I don't really remember much else from Fulham. And that's the thing that's so disappointing, is that their major attack they scored.
Well, they created like their XG. They had 0.11 XG to our 2 XG. They literally, I think they had probably like less than 10 touches in our final third, at least in the first half. And you mentioned that obviously Kiwior, and I read the same as you, flat-footed, wasn't able to keep the pace, wasn't aggressive enough, wasn't keeping tight to his man and just got spun. I would say, though, to the point where I've maybe waxed a bit lyrical about Saliba, him coming across, I just half expected him to kind of just slide in and try and block it. Now, there's obviously a chance that Jimenez can cut back inside if he reads that or if he's smart enough, but it felt like a bit of a weak attempt at the ball by Saliba because he was probably in the box. So he's probably like, I can't go to ground because there's a penalty here. I can't go too aggressive for the same reason. Can't go super tight. So I get there's obviously a read. And I, like you, also think that Raya could and probably should have done better. The fact that their XG is so low probably puts that goal in the fact that it's unlikely to be scored by most players. It's a good finish. I'm not denying that it's a good finish and quite a snap finish as well. Like maybe we just didn't expect him to strike it from where he hit it.
I didn't.
Raya, well, I maybe that's what the read is. Like Raya, everyone has talked about how good he is with his feet, how good he is in the air, how good he is at claiming balls. The conversation has started to switch a little bit more recently that he can be a good and is a good shot stopper. He has saved us a lot of points over the course of this season already. And it's just one of those ones that I kind of expected him to save. When Jimenez wheeled off, I just didn't. It's one of those shock and awe kind of goals where I just wasn't. I don't understand how that went in, but that sounds like goal's been created, and it is really disappointed to concede that early in an away game. And this type of away game where we do have injuries, where the weather and stuff is against us, where it is a tough ground to go to, it's all kind of against you. It's kind of a bit of an uphill struggle, particularly if you're leaving your goal. Well, what did we score, like the 56th minute, 60th minute, somewhere along those lines?
Yeah.
It's just a lot of game to kind of wait until score. If we hit back automatically, then we've got a chance there. We've got a lot of the game to kind of play into.
I think for me, like when we did go goal down, I was kind of calm, though. I don't know about you. I was like, just thinking we'll score 3 in the second half. Like we come on strong in the second half. Like I wasn't worried about it at the time, but then I didn't have it's kind of a goal out of nowhere. Kivior got done, as I've already said, lack of experience, not enough match practice, etc., etc. I was like, but it's okay because I have faith that we'll score, we'll get to a 3 and we'll win this game comfortably still. But yeah, like when our attack is playing that way, the defense also has to be consistent because we may not get many chances as we found.
Well, I'll get onto the attack in a second. There was one point I wanted to make, and that's maybe it's just the way that we play football or the way that other teams set up against us, and because of how we play football, we just don't get the same like break opportunities that other clubs do. Fulham did have a lot of chances to get behind us, and that might just be because we play a really high line. We play with the ball at our feet. We do play very attacking, very pressing, and very heavy out of possession football. I just can't name the last time that we had an opportunity to get behind someone and have that like one-on-one. I guess it's because just a lot of teams just don't give us any space to play that way.
We don't have any. Do we really play that way as a team?
No, but I say you get Saka on that ball in a one-on-one situation, similar vein to what Jimenez got there. He's also scoring it. How often does it happen? It never happens.
Yeah, we don't. But we don't play. That's not how we attack, though. Saka doesn't attack in that way. We don't do that. I mean, the person that maybe I've seen do it is more from a left side, and it's been Martinelli. I've seen Martinelli do it before, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't recognize. I think we've said this before. I don't recognize this Martinelli from the Martinelli of probably like his first season and a half at Arsenal when we were a different team back then. Obviously, late Emery, early Arteta years, and we were a different team. We didn't have the caliber of player we have now, and so we actually were playing more of that kind of, let's say, counter-attacking, get them on the break football, and Martinelli thrived in it. But the more controlled, bide your time approach, we don't play that no more. And I think Martinelli doesn't look quite. I don't know, in my mind, like it doesn't quite fit the mold at the moment of what we need. which is why also you're seeing Trossard start more games, I think, as well. So, yeah.
Well, let's get on to the attack then, because like I say, I wouldn't necessarily put the blame firmly at the feet of our defence for why we dropped points in this game. However, in my opinion, and I think you said maybe the defence is to blame, because if we hadn't have been as flat-footed in that goal, we probably wouldn't have conceded. My opinion is that we were just absolutely woeful up top, absolutely woeful, and we didn't create a lot. We didn't take a lot of shots. We didn't really do anything. And again, it felt very, although I obviously, and me and you were in the ground against Man United singing set piece again, ole, ole. I, like any other Arsenal fan, have reveled in that moment. But it does feel very much, it's kind of what we're waiting to happen, what we're waiting for in order for us to score, for order for us to play our way. And it just didn't come about today. What do you think about the attack? Is there anybody that you think singled out for yourself as a reason or as maybe a scapegoat for those drop points?
When Havertz doesn't get the service, he's a bit null and void at times. I don't actually know if it's a criticism of Havertz necessarily directly, or more the criticism of the service that he didn't get. Because I don't feel like he had the service today to even create the chances that we'd expect him to score. That was a big problem, right? Because he's our starting striker. I could say, another person who I wasn't particularly happy with was Jesus, but he came off the bench, and it's pretty much consistent. We need a striker, and that's well known. And Havertz just wasn't in the game. It didn't stand out to me. I didn't notice him. He was invisible. He was a passenger from what it looked like to me. And such an important position in your side. And to have those games where that one player can't get into the game and they're like a passenger, it's almost a waste of a man on the field. And I don't know if it's directly said. I don't know if I haven't really. We're only 45 minutes after the game's finished, and I don't know if I've processed it enough. Maybe I need to rewatch it, but Havertz just didn't get the service. I don't know if I'm being critical.
You mentioned, but you mentioned obviously we need a striker. What different type of striker do you feel would bring something different to that game that he didn't?
So I mentioned Gyökeres from Lisbon, right? The difference was that he would drop. So what we saw against Lisbon with him, and what we've seen in the clips that have been shared of him, he will come and drop and get the ball and then take it to you, run at a defender, and he'll crack a couple of shots from outside the box. He'll try and put the defense under some form of pressure. Havertz doesn't do that. That's not his ball. His job is to win the ball kind of up top. He doesn't have pace and aggression to kind of turn the ball. The person I was thinking about when you asked me that question, I was trying to go who. I used to think of Alexis, right? When Alexis used to drop to get the ball and then he would run at you, and he would just try and create chances. And I just feel that that's something different that we don't have in our, no pun intended, Arsenal. It's just not there. It's not in our locker. I would say Jesus kind of was that player. I remember him doing that. I remember always his first game for Arsenal in the league against Crystal Palace, when he used to run it. He was running at defenders and running through defenders. And we were like, that guy's gone. That guy politely died in Qatar 2022 after the injury. There's someone wearing a Jesus shirt on the pitch, but it's not the same player. And we miss that. We need that, and we don't have it. Something can change the attacking momentum, the type of attacking that we're doing. Because I don't know about you, all I noticed in that, this was my analysis of that, especially the second half. It was we got the ball on the right, pass back to Partey, pass to Saka, pass to Odegaard. Odegaard switches across to Rice. Rice goes across to Mourinho. Mourinho across to Martinelli. Martinelli tries to do something, gets a crossing, gets blocked, gets the ball back, tries and no, we're going to go back over to the right again. And it's just it just doesn't work.
But that's why I said we don't necessarily have a plan B like that.
No.
And we've said this before, right? We lack a very direct way at goal. We play a certain way that either is Martinelli hits the byline, gets a cross in, Saka gets the ball, cuts inside, or combines with Ødegaard for a pass. But in the odd occasions where we tried a little bit something different, like there was a ball, I think it was Declan Rice maybe, that played it through to Jesus when he span, and he was basically like one-on-one with the keeper as the ball was floating over the top of him. And he just needed to like nick it. There was a goal by Salah the other week that was basically the same. The ball came across and Salah just toe poked him. Couldn't even tell if it was on purpose. But it's like we lack those kind of direct, ambitious kind of goals that we just don't seem to score. And again, we were waiting for a set piece. That's what it felt like.
Yeah. The thing is, I think we knew this going into the season that was like our defense is like looks solid. Ironically, it's not solid because it's so many injuries that I would say that we've given away points this season that we wouldn't have last season with injuries. So we always knew that coming into the season, we had an amazing investment in our defense. We bought a Marino to bolster the midfield, bit of depth in the midfield. And we always knew that we really wanted one more winger. And we ended up getting Sterling on loan because we couldn't get the winger we wanted. And we didn't
get a start now. Can't buy a start right now, or even a bench, or even a sub appearance.
And we didn't get the striker we wanted. Obviously, we wanted the guy from Leipzig, and he signed a new contract, and that was it. And I feel it feels like we didn't capitalize on a very obvious opportunity, because it felt like this year's season was the season. Like, think about the warning signs were there really early of how many games, like Rodri talking about how many games he'd played and he was tired and fatigued. And like, we had not all of our players went to the Euros, and we had some, like, it just felt like third year running, like it's our time now. This is our time. It was an opportunity. And I just expected us to invest in where we needed to do to get the job done this year. And the more I reflect on it, the more I think that we have missed we've missed our opportunity, because Chelsea are going to be there next year. They are. Man City will be back next year. If Slot continues the way he's doing with this Liverpool side, they're going to be strong. And it's a just completely different kettle of fish in next season. So this season is the season. But we might get to the halfway point when the January transfer window opens, and it's Liverpool have already too far ahead to even do anything about it.
Maybe. There's a lot of twists and turns in this tale, I think, Jace, that's still going to come up. A lot of season to go. A lot of things can and will change. Granted, I agree with you to a point about our opportunity. And there are just things that haven't gone our way that have cost us points. There are things within our own gift. Like today was our fault. There's no denying it through this. We've had games in the past where me and you, we've talked a lot about blaming referees, blaming VAR, blaming anything in between to why we haven't won games. But today was us. And up front, like I say, you mentioned Havertz, and he was anonymous. And like I say, I'm more in the camp that he can bring himself into this game and hadn't as much as maybe he could have. He could drop deeper. He could play more of an 8 role if he needed to kind of bring into the midfield. I would say Trossard was dreadful. Another game where and this is similar to when it was Man City and the game beforehand, I think it was Brighton, where he just gave the ball away in silly situations, in simple situations that luckily didn't cost us, but almost did. And then you can kind of forgive those elements of his game if he was able to create or make chances or score or have crosses. None of that. He was completely absent, in my opinion. And he continually kept on. We've lambasted in the past Martinelli for running into the channel and continues just running towards our byline, getting stuck and not knowing what to do with the ball. And Trossard did a lot of that today, where he would run around players just to find he'd hit another blockage, and wouldn't necessarily release the ball. I agree with you. Jesus was Jesus. You've come to expect it now. I read a tweet that someone wrote. I can't remember who it was, so apologies. But they're like, it feels like when we bring Jesus on, we've given up. And I was like, wow. That is, whether it's true or not, but you kind of get this sense because he is not scoring. He's not scoring.
No.
And it's like, it's the same with Sterling a little bit. Like, I know Sterling hasn't had much of an opportunity and much of a chance to play in an Arsenal shirt, to show anything, really. The flashes that he has shown haven't been great. But, you know, Jesus now has been here a long time, and we know he can be brilliant. He hasn't been brilliant in a long time, and he just offered us zero. And even in the opportunity where he had like a chance, it was bad. It's just really, really woeful. And like, you can kind of, we're lucky to have such a generational talent in William Saliba and Bukayo Saka that we continue to wait for these two players to do something to rescue us. And it, again, here is just another day where we almost did. I think we have to talk about the fact that Martinelli's offside for Saka's goal is
basics.
It's criminal. You know, I would forgive him if this was a switch ball across the pitch and he's running into space. He needs to time his run perfectly to make sure he gets on the end of it. He was standing still. It's a standard switch ball across the park. And you're looking across that line. He has the whole line to look across. He's at the furthest place on the pitch. And like the fact that he's offside for there. And like I have talked about small margins, and of course it is. And as a winger, as an attacker, you've always got to be playing on the edge. Because of course you want to get that as much of an advantage as possible. But that it's simple, it's basic, and it's cost us.
Yeah, I'm ranted a few times in the previous pods about Gabby. I don't. It's not at a level. We have. I think our squad has transcended his ability. He once looked very good in an Arsenal shirt, but he's not. He was a young player, and so we always trusted there was room for improvement. But he's not improved, and he's making mistakes he shouldn't be making. He's had the salary
and his stock isn't getting any higher either, right? Like you would have said at a point, he could have been worth 70, 80 million, easy. And it's not going anything north of that. If anything, it's going south.
He's looking more like a mid-table winger in the Premier League.
I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but like, you know, we've had plenty of mid-table wingers, and a lot of them play for this club that we play today. and it's funny. I mean, Emil Smith-Rowe dropped a standard as we're used to in more recent games, Emil Smith-Rowe appearances. But Iwobi has been good, and I think was pretty decent in flashes during this game. It's interesting that we've gone through a lot of wingers, AL and wingers too, that haven't necessarily kicked on. Saka is a product of that academy and is fantastic and is world class. We just need more. And we're probably going to we talked about it in the summer. Nico Williams was the one that I wanted, and not to say that he's doing very well this season yet, but I think you're right. There's going to be a bit of a reshuffle come January and come next summer with our attacking front line.
Do you think if we are anywhere near close still to Liverpool when the window opens in 4 weeks' time, do you think there's any chance that we go for a striker?
Absolutely not.
So you think we bring no one in and we just?
I don't think we.
Yeah.
January is just a tough time. The market is usually awful. Teams know what other teams want and need, and so the price is a premium to do it. I just can't see it, and we know historically Arteta, and even with our backroom staff changing with the loss of Adu, we are somewhat going to have to rethink our approach, because Arteta is very much looking for opportunity in the market. That is why we signed Sterling. Mm-hmm. He was an opportunity in the market that presented itself. They don't come around that often in January, really. And I look back, I think we talked about this before in a pod, like the history of our signings in January have always usually been shit. There's not many players we've signed in January. Trossard, I think, is the only one.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at Trossard going, he's been a good buy at that price. He's also in a similar vein to what you said to Martinelli. We are outgrowing him at a pace that is too fast for him to keep up with.
Yeah. Can we talk about Martin Odegaard? What did you think of his performance today?
Passive, maybe. And this is the thing. I like you maybe struggled to write some notes during this game, but one of the things I did write is we obviously just didn't create much, and a lot of it is reliant on him being at his best to be able to cut through the midfield, be able to break the lines, be able to make those passes. Mm-hmm. I, like you, though, and we talked in the car enough times coming back from games this season where we're like, he doesn't just have to pass it. You can shoot. You can dribble. You know, you can do the things that a midfielder does. It doesn't always have to be the most perfect of passes. And so we are significantly better without him. There's no denying it. And we are, when he went down after a clip and it looked like he might have been hurt, and maybe he was a bit hurt, and we did bring Ranieri on. So I suspect there is an element of that in this game too. We are shocking without him. A lot worse than we were today. Now, Nwaneri was good, and maybe hopefully Arteta can see that he has value bringing him onto games. But Odegaard wasn't great. We're a lot worse without him.
Yeah, and again, you were talking about waiting on Saliba and Saka to do something. We're waiting on Odegaard to do something, and when he's not playing, it's a very hard watch. And if he's playing but not turning it on, it's not quite as a hard watch, but it's still a challenge for us. And again, another, whether it's another winger, we definitely know we need a striker. Whether it's another winger or, I don't see a very clear replacement. Smith-Rowe's gone. Fabio Vieira's gone on loan. Do you see another attacking midfielder option? Like, we clearly need a backup to Odegaard as well. Like, I know we play Havertz sometimes. We drop him in there if Odegaard's not fit, and we play Hayes up front, but that's not working either.
Well, we played Trossard in the pockets where he was injured as well. Everyone was screaming at Ranieri needing to start, and he does look much more up for it and more dynamic, more direct. I don't necessarily feel we need a backup 10. I think Ranieri is it. And part of the reason why I think we let those two players that you mentioned go is to give him a clear path into the first team. With either of those two still in the squad, that just wouldn't have happened. I would say here, and I don't know what you thought, why did Jorginho start?
Some games he's rolled out for very specific games, isn't he?
I agree with you. A Liverpool, Man United, City, Chelsea, Fulham away.
Yeah, I mean that's a hard game for us. In the weather conditions, I think and I just think you're going to see that for the next probably 4-5 weeks of matches, maybe 6, because we're playing 2 times a week. We're playing the weekend, then we're playing the midweek continuously now for quite a while. Was it Monaco in the middle of this week? Then we're home to Everton. Then it's Palace in the middle of the week after. Then we move into the actual kind of proper Christmas area period where you're probably playing every 2 or 3 days. So we are going to have squad rotation, and you are going to see Jorginho having to play. He wasn't awful. Like, he didn't stick out to me as this is the reason we drew this game.
And neither do I, but I just, the left-hand side dynamic.
Well, also why the answer to your question, why did he play, is Thomas Partey played right back. So
and the crux of it is that. But it's more that I was like, well, Mourinho hasn't had a string of games at all yet. We've never really seen much of him yet. And I do feel he needs to get in the squad and get 3 or 4 or 5 games under his belt to truly create relationships, buy into that midfield, kind of get involved and understand how it ticks and how it works. And that, for me, is another point. Like, Jorginho and other players have had that. They're able to kind of shift into that team and be able to hit the ground running. He hasn't yet, in my opinion. And we paid a lot of money.
I don't know what he brings.
But I'd agree with you, but I just don't feel that we've seen enough of him to be able to know. We know he's a good player. We saw him win the Euros. We've seen what he's able to do. And he has shown some of it in flashes during games. I just can't recall like three games and 90 minutes that he's played on the bounce.
I don't know where he fits in the squad. Like I think he's playing. like him and Deck in the team together doesn't work because like neither of them can play the Partey Jorginho role. So then, and no one's going to go play the Odegaard role. So then you're basically playing.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. It doesn't fit. It
Two
doesn't work.
sixes, basically. It feels
Yeah,
like
it's confusing. It doesn't quite work. Oh, this is a very
well,
negative.
now I'm gonna pile it on. Why not? I put the last segment to talk about was maybe is it time to panic? We have talked and alluded to where Arsenal's title hopes and ambitions likely lie. Do you feel that, after the last few results of where we lost, and then we hit the ground running, we beat Forest, we beat Sporting, we beat West Ham, we beat Man United, Liverpool dropped points to Newcastle. Me and you were at the Emirates thinking it felt we had people behind us talking, it's 3-0, it's 3-0. And at that point in time, I think it was maybe only 1-0 to us against Man United. And there was this fear of 1-0's a slender lead. And luckily we did, and we gained 2 points on them. And we had the opportunity here to lay down a marker to Liverpool with their game postponed from yesterday, that we would have been 4 points behind them. Now Chelsea are playing Spurs, and let's be honest, Spurs are shit. Chelsea are going to win that game. They're going to be ahead of us. And there's a big mountain to climb, I would say. Do you agree with me that it's time to start panicking and putting our title hopes to bed?
I just don't have any expectation now for the season. I'm not, if that makes sense. I'm not panicking. I expect us to finish top 4. I don't expect us to go for the league. I don't expect us to win the league title anymore. I just feel that the inconsistency that we have shown this year, we don't deserve to win the title. Liverpool have been by far the best team. Like, we kept going, it feels jammy. When are they going to lose? Well, they haven't. And they beat Man City convincingly. They beat Real Madrid convincingly. And it's like, no, they're on it this year. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm not panicking. I'm just kind of more accepting of it, I guess. Which is disappointing because I don't know, at the beginning of the season, I thought this was our year. I felt this was our year. We got our season tickets and there was just good vibes. And slowly it's been a very slow burst of the bubble. Like, it's been very slowly. Kind of, it's not like I've got to this point overnight and it's just gone bang. And it's like, I've kind of just got used to what our performances have been like and just get to a point of accepting. Because I know that there's probably likely going to be a situation in the second half of the season where we come on strong and we smash it for a bit. There will be. Because we started this season slow. We started last season slow and we came on the second half. The first year we were in the title race, we started that season super hot out the blocks, took a big lead, and in the second half of the season, we absolutely faded and lost the league. So last year, Mikel was like, right, I'm learning my lesson from the season before that. We'll start slower, less foot on the gas, and then we'll have enough left in the tank to ride out the whole season. And that almost worked. I reckon he took the same tactic this season, which is why we've seen certain performances. But I feel like the fear is that I thought we'd started to put our foot on the gas in the last few games because of probably the lead that Liverpool have, because it's time to pull that lead back in before it gets too late. But the challenge is that we can't afford to drop any points the way Liverpool are playing. Any point. Like, a draw is not good enough to win the league. We know we need 90 points plus to win the league. And
there's a very slim chance of that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's where I'm at. What about you? What's your feelings? Are you thinking it's over like me, or are you having faith in the boys?
Depends what time of the day you ask me. I think at the moment, I everything you've said has a lot of merit, has a lot of reason, has a lot of logic behind it. I'm with you probably on most of it. A lot of people, and we've got friends that are Liverpool fans. I read a lot and listen to a lot of other pods and stuff that talk a lot about Liverpool are going to fall off. It's inevitable. It's always going to happen. They can't keep up this pace. New manager, those players. There's a lot of old legs in that team, but it's not happening, and it hasn't happened yet. And there was people that are talking, when they drew against us, could it be it? When they're playing Man City, could it be it? When they're playing against Real Madrid, could it be it? And I get that you look at the Man City team that they played was certainly not the best Man City team that they've played. They're also in a bit of a rut. They played Real Madrid without Vinicius, without some of their best players. I think they played their young kiddie in midfield. And so maybe you could point to some of those parts and kind of say, well, they've rode their luck a bit like we had in last year. And at some point it will fall. They are going to drop points. And that draw against Newcastle could have been it, maybe. So let's see. There's a lot of season ahead of us, a lot of road ahead of us. If we're in this position, still 7 points adrift in February, then I think there's, I'm conceding at that point in time. I think we'll still be in the mixer come February, come March time. And if the gap is 4 points or so, then I think there's still a chance. Liverpool last year, or maybe it was the season before, had somewhat of I think it was a 12-point swing against us over the course of like 4 games. They fell apart. They were really close to us last season, and it just capitulated towards the end. We've been there. I was talking to a Liverpool friend on Friday, very much like, I don't know how they've done it for the years that they've done it, but we've had a battle with Man City over 2 seasons, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting being able to compete at their level. And now, unfortunately, seeing them drop off and it's not us near the top is incredibly frustrating. They've done it for like 6 seasons. They got how many points they get? 99 points, and they still didn't win the league, which is insane, absolutely insane. So I'm not downing tools on it. I'm with you that the vibes are not as immaculate as I'd like them to be. I like being in the ground now, and it's great to feel that we've got a chance to be there if it was this season. I'm 50-50. I'm Lamar at the moment. So let's see where it takes us. But I'm excited at least to kind of feel that this is a lot more open and a lot more interesting league title. It's no longer City running away with it and no one can touch them. Liverpool are there, City are there, Chelsea. You've got other teams that are still up and about it. Like, I agree to a point where you talked about Fulham's a difficult game for us, because Fulham, they're doing well. They've got good points. They've had good results. They've got good players. They've got a good coach. They're doing well. You've got teams like Brentford doing well. You've got teams like Brighton, albeit that they drew today and threw away 3 points. They're doing well. Newcastle, there's a lot of teams up and against it. And so this league is only going to get more difficult. So your point earlier about strengthening, maybe in January, maybe beyond, is all the more important to us coming the end of this season, particularly. Like, I think that a lot of other clubs haven't. And maybe they've recognized they don't need to. They just need to play differently, pull up from the academy, do different things. This is going to be an incredibly tight year. So let's see where it takes us. I'm not down yet.
Well, it's good that one of us is optimistic.
I'm going to try. It's not quite time to panic yet. Right. I don't know if you wanted to talk briefly about anything around the other grounds. I was only going to mention that seeing Man United lose to Nottingham Forest after another set-piece goal is pretty hilarious.
I mean, we can always laugh at United. I think their manager's got one hell of a task cut out, and I don't know if he knows what he's got himself in for. I didn't see the game. I was out in London yesterday, so I didn't see it. Yeah, I did see the result, and it just made me chuckle.
And there was me giving it the big that Chelsea were going to spank Spurs. Spurs are currently winning 2-1 after 25 minutes. Which would be an incredibly Spursy thing to do, obviously.
Yeah, like the 4-0 win at Man City and then losing.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. But let's see where that kind of goes and takes. I know, Man City drawing to Palace yesterday is also interesting. It feels very much like, I know what I found most interesting. You were talking about Havertz earlier and trying to drifting in and out of games and maybe needs to bring himself into the game. Yeah. Haaland has been very reminiscent of that. Like, he's in the inability to bring himself into those games and not have the service as well. And those two things combining has made it a very difficult season for him as well. And, Salah is running away with 8 at the moment.
I don't know what he's on. Like, he's just having one of the seasons of his life again. And everyone thought maybe he was not over the hill, but like, let's say on the decline of his from.
Well, everyone's go and join Saudi league, go to America, get your last good payday and be done with it. And now he's looking like unstoppable, best player in the league.
Yeah, we need him politely to just be injured.
Don't wish that on anyone, Jace, of course. Right, that'll bring us to the end. Jace, what do we want our listeners and viewers to do with themselves when they're watching or listening to this content?
Yeah, if you're listening in, then please subscribe to the podcast on your podcast provider of choice. Leave a star review, only a good one if you like us. If you don't, then please don't.
Just don't.
And yeah, if you're on YouTube, again, put a thumbs up, give us subscribe, and tune in every week, or hopefully every other week. We're back now. We took a bit of a hiatus for a little bit, but for different reasons. But yeah, back on it, and we'll speak to you soon. Yeah, well, hopefully me and Jace aren't going to the Monaco game on Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? Yes, Tuesday. Yeah, one of those days. We played on a Sunday. It's a Wednesday game. Yeah. Okay, so we might be back from Monaco. If we don't see you then, we'll be back in the ground against Everton at the weekend, and hopefully bringing back some 3 points back to the Emirates once again. So pleasure as always. Thank you very much for watching or listening, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Cheers, guys. Come on!